guys, the finale of What If I and I Came to Transformers Prime early begins now. Our story begins in episode 11, where we would see Ironhide and his crew getting ready to pretty much box Lockdown. Him, Impactor, along with Ratchet, Wheeljack, and Bulkhead. Yeah, all five of them get ready to fight Lockdown. Now, Lockdown will pretty much land his ship along. Actually, yeah, he lands his ship. My bad. I was thinking about something else. But he lands his ship, and a few Veocons and some Insecticons come out. And seeing the other Autobots, Lockdown is like, "What are you guys doing here? And what the hell is that behind you?" Seeing the Omega Lock. And Ironhide turns around and he's like, "Don't worry about that, Lockdown. Just know today might be your last. This is where the hunter gets hunted." As Ironite cracks his neck and rushes in towards Lockdown, while the others pretty much take down the Insecticons and the Veocons. And since, like I said, parts ago, that all of them had everyone has their own 2.0 design in a way, and yeah, they're much stronger now. Lockdown versus Ironite. Yeah, this is a close fight, but yeah, Ironhide has the complete advantage because of a few reasons. One, his firepower has increased to a huge amounts. Like his firepower is far stronger than it was before. Plus the fact he's stronger, more durable, and he's a bit more faster. As it actually, instead of decreasing his speed, it actually increases speed. Kind of crazy how technically his muscles got an increase, but it didn't decrease his speed. Kind of hilarious. Huh. But anywho, pretty much Iron and Lockdown's fight is very close, like I said. Like it's very close because this is the lockdown. Like he's pretty much just Beavis lockdown, but he's just in Transformers Prime in a way. But this lockdown is animated and he's animated lockdown and Beavis combined in a way in a bit of Transformers Prime to make him more unique. But at the end of the day, he's still fighting Ironhide, one of Optimus's lieutenants. Yeah, he's actually one of Optimus' lieutenants. And it's not really it's not really hard for Ironhide. Yes, it's close, but still. Lockdown is mostly using his speed and agility to outmaneuver and outpace Ironhide, but Ironhide is just using his firepower, strength, and durability to take all of Lockdown's attacks and dish back attacks. As their fight is extremely close. Like Lockdown is just maneuvering and outpacing Ironhide, while Ironhide is just trying his best to shoot him, and he manages to land a few shots and a few good blows, but it's not really enough to take down the bounty hunter as he has been through a lot worse compared to Ironhide. But still, this is still an opponent he can't really beat, and as Lockton tries his best, he decides to take out his spark extractor, the weapon that he had in Transformers AOE. Yeah, he takes this one out. He takes out this weapon of his and he rushes in, trying to stab Ironhide through his spark. Well, through his spark chamber to whip out his spark like he did to Ratchet in the Bavis. And Ironhide manages to dodge it in time by ducking under him and proceeds to shoot Lockdown straight in his chest, sending him flying. And Lockdown is like, "No, I can't lose like this. I can't lose to a brute like you." And Anna is like, "Huh, sadly you are. And besides, I'm not really much of a brute. The only one who could be a brute is pretty much Grimlock, but at the same time, he is one of the greatest strategists in the Autobot ranks. Grimlock is one of the greatest strategists in Autobot ranks. Yeah, in this timeline, well, in every single timeline, including the main continuity, he is one of Optimus' lieutenants. Very surprising that of all the people, Grimlock is one of his lieutenants, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Lockdown, you never stood a chance. As Ironhide rushes towards Lockdown. Now, Lockdown quickly takes out his face cannon. I'm not really, I don't really remember what the name was, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, face cannon just sounds way funnier and way better. He takes out his face cannon, the one he had in AoE, and shoots towards Ironhide. Ironhide will dodge it and quickly shoot. So he quickly shoots Lockdown straight in the face, blowing his face cannon off of his face, or blowing his face off his face a bit, damaging him heavily. And Lockdown tries to get up as he's on the floor because that explosion was enough to actually push him on the floor. As he tries to get up, Iron Knight will quickly stomp on him actually. Bro stomps on his head and repeatedly stomps on him until he's offline, killing Lockdown. And as he removes his foot off of his head, he's like, dang, I think I might went overboard. As he, oh my gosh, he squished his head. Bro's head is pops like a balloon. Or squished. Like, how can I describe it? No, I don't describe it in a brutal way because I'm not that type of guy, but I would have to say like it's you trying to squish an ant, and the ants, let's just say the ants' body parts are all over all over the floor. Pretty much how I did to Lockdown, and I proceeds to take Lockdown's communicator and leaves towards and goes straight towards the others. As the others finish up all the Insecticons and Reacons, and they look at Ironhide, and Wurjak's like, "Wow, you actually beat him. That's quite surprising." And Ironhide's like, "Lockdown is overrated. Let's keep let's keep that official. Bro's overrated. Stop hyping this man up like he's some like he's the strongest Decepticon or villain we ever faced. He's not that guy. Just no. I'm not really in the mood because honestly, yeah, to be fair, I'm not really like I don't really like Lockdown that much. I really think he's overrated. But anywho, Arnold and the others pretty much gather together and continue fixing up Cybertron by using a Megalog. Now, of course, Deej Maximus will try to contact Lockdown, asking if he finished, or sorry, no, if he checked what the hell was going on with Cybertron. And Ironheart will respond, sorry, Lockdown is, he's taking a nice stasis log. He won't be awake for quite a long time, which means forever. So you won't be seeing him as he crushes Lockdown's communicator, the one he used to communicate with Leech Maximus. And Leech Maximus, after hearing that, is extremely pissed off, as he's like, oh, he calls himself the greatest bounty hunter, but lost to like probably a few Autobots. What a waste of a soldier. But doesn't matter for me. I don't know what the hell they're doing on Cybertron, but I highly doubt Optimus is there. As it would make sense if he was on talking. And then Shockwave comes towards Leech Maximus and asks if he thinks Optimus is on Earth still. And Leech Maximus does agree. He does believe Optimus is still on Earth because he can still sense the power of the Matrix. He is confused why some of his Autobots are on Cybertron, but at the same time, he doesn't really think about it because at the end of the day, Prime is technically the main focus, as he does realize if he goes to Cybertron, they can contact Optimus and they can bring him to a Cybertron, and they can do that. So he knows there's no point in pretty much trying to go to Cybertron. Now I'm thinking about it, he doesn't really have a reason because if he goes, at the end of the day, he's gonna fight Optimus, but he wants to fight him on Earth because, well, he wants to use a couple of humans as hostages, you can say. I mean, to be fair, I always wondered why the Decepticons never bothered doing that because that would be so much easier. But at the same time, it would be so much harder for the heroes. So I see why the writers didn't bother doing that. I don't think I might do it. I think I might, but at the same time, it's a bit scuffed. It's not really gonna it's not really gonna be it's not really gonna be easy for them. So you know what? I'll scrap that. But Leech Maximus does want to end Optimus' life as he's quite tired of him because he already killed him in his previous life, and he wants to kill him again and just add to his kill count of primes. How many did I say he killed? I said 305. 305, I'm not too sure. 305 primes he killed, somewhere between there. But now let's just continue with the story. Now Optimus and the others gather all their resources and weapons and get ready for the final battle. Now some of the Autobots aren't really trustworthy. Some of them don't trust Redwing, as they think he's just a spy, but at the same time, they don't really care as long as they have someone to help them out. Now, as the Autobots get ready to pretty much have the final battle, Liege Maximus will contact Optimus, send a message towards him, and tells him to come towards this location, which is Chicago. And Optimus realizes, oh no, it's Dark of the Moon all over again. Worst part about it, it's not Sentinel or Megatron. Well, what my well, that's my lucky day. Oh, at least cyanide isn't dead in this timeline. At least. And at least we don't have a Sentinel of our own. Or else he would be rusted away again. Oh, scrap. We still have oil slick though. Yeah, yeah. They forgot about oil slick, who does have chemical rust. Well, he is like a chemical war criminal, I think. Yeah, he can make cosmic rust. Yes, he can make that. I don't really know why. I don't know why it's called cosmic rust because it's not really. It doesn't really have any co. It doesn't really have any cosmic abilities to it, but whatever. Now, the Decepticons would arrive in Chicago, and they do the same thing the Decepticons did in Dark of the Moon. They attack the city. A bunch of humans are getting killed, but the Autobots arrived. Everyone, and they also arrived with their human partners. And if any of you remember the last part I gave Jack, Miko, and Raphael, the same suits that Noah had in Rise of the Beast. And the three humans start helping out some civilians, evacuating them, while the Autobots pretty much rush in and start attacking the Decepticons. As Leech Maximus send the remaining Veilcons and Insecticons towards the Autobots. And the Autobots rush in and start attacking them. And it's not really even a fair fight. It's like sending, you know what? It's like sending regular soldiers against super soldiers with very, very, very powerful abilities and weapons. So, if you want to know how this goes, let's just say it goes 10 times worse than what the Autobots did to the Decepticons back in Dark of the Moon. You know, remember Optimus's rage moment in Dark of the Moon? Yeah, imagine that, but with like 70. I think it's like 60 to 7. Yeah, I think there's like 68 Autobots in this what if, right? I mean, yeah, 68 Autobots right now. Yeah, I think there's 68. Yes. Imagine that, like 68 Autobots doing the same thing Optimus did in Dark of the Moon when he did that rage scene. That rage scene. That's pretty much what's going on. And it's not a pretty sight. I would say it's 5 times more brutal and more vicious. Besides, Optimus has Vector Prime Sword, so yeah, he's abusing that ability. And the Autobots quickly overwhelmed the Decepticons. Seeing this, Liege Maximus decides to send his Quintessons and Shockticons, and they rush in to also help out in the battlefield. But at the end of the day, it's not really changing that much. Sure, it catches the Autobots off guard at first because they technically didn't fight them, but it doesn't mean they don't have the advantage because at the end of the day, they're all stronger, faster, more powerful than any current version of them in literally the previous parts. They literally overwhelmed them still. And using the artifacts that Optimus gave them, that yeah, Optimus gave them, they would proceed just to overwhelm the Quintessons and the Shockticons along with the Veilcons and Insecticons. Seeing this does piss off Leech Maximus, and he decides to come in to pretty much fight Optimus, as Prime is mostly like a headache. He's literally the biggest asset the Autobots have ever had. Bro is literally the main reason for all of his downfall. So Leech Maximus proceeds to teleport towards Optimus, and he comes behind him. Prime manages to react in time, but at the end of the day, like I said in I think part 13 or part 12, yeah, I think it was 13 that Leech Maximus can nullify Optimus's time abilities. So Yeah, Prime is not gonna be spamming that anymore. By the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because Legion Maximus isn't like Oximus, who's been fighting a war for millions of years and has fought many skilled warriors like Megatron, Lockdown, and many others by himself most of the time and fighting entire vehicle armies and all that. This is mostly he sure Legion Maximus can nullify his abilities, but he can't nullify his skill level. So him and Oximus proceed to fight. And Shockwave, Soundwave, Team Char, and Six Shot and Double Deal along with Dodge, the rest of the high ranked Decepticons just watch on. Kind of curious how this battle will go. As they don't come in to help, as Shockwave orders everyone to pretty much stay back. And everyone listens to him because, to be fair, no one really likes Leech Maximus. They think he's a bit of a he's a bit of a bad guy. Well, I can't say bad guy. I can say the other word, but he's a bit of a he's a bit of a jerk. He's just not Megatron like. Let me just say that. And besides, Shockwave in most timelines is always respected by the Decepticons. So yeah, and besides, in the Transformers Prime universe, he's still respected. Everyone just listens to him and just doesn't do anything about it. And we would just see Oximus and Leech Maximus having a fantastic fight. As this fight will continue until episode 12, where Oximus and Leech Maximus are pretty much just dishing out blows, shooting each other, busy slicing each other, cutting each other, doing everything in the book. This is a brutal hand to hand, swordsman to swordship type fight. It's just amazing. I wish I could animate this, but yes, it's very amazing. It's kind of like how Oximus fought Sentinel in Dark of the Moon. It's pretty much like that, but the only difference is that Sentinel, Leech Maximus has a core reinforcements to shoot down on Oximus. It's just a straight fight. And Oximus has the complete advantage because of his skill level. Because Oximus has been fighting for years. Leech Maximus has not been fighting like Oximus has been. Leech Maximus has mostly been studying, gaining knowledge, and doing other things besides training and fighting. Oximus has been doing the same thing as him, studying, trying to gain some knowledge, learning. But difference is that Oximus has also been fighting and has been in many battlefields and has been into many fights with many high-rank Decepticons and many skilled Decepticons, such as Bludgeon and freaking Megatron, Lockdown, and many others. And he's been able to keep up with them in skill. Man, like he's been able. Can he beat them in skill level? Maybe. But still, Prime has been fighting for years compared to Leech Maximus. Leech Maximus's abilities are tricky, but Prime is able to overwhelm him, not just because of his skill level, but because of the weapons he has. As I said, he has a Star Saber with Vector Prime's sword. Yes. And the Vortex Blade. So it's not really like, even though he can use the time abilities, he at least can use the sword as a weapon. So it's not really a downside to it. Oximus and Legion Maximus continue their fight, and Legion Maximus is starting to lose ground. He's starting to be overwhelmed. He then looks up and sees Shockwave and Team Shaw and Six Shot, Soundwave, Double Dealer, and Dodge, and he's kind of confused. He asks why the hell they're not helping him. And Shockwave does look at his master, and communicating with him in the communicators. Yeah, he pretty much tells his master that he's not really gonna help him in this one. Confused, Leech Maximus asks why, and pretty much Shockwave tells him that he knows Leech Maximus thinks. He thinks that he can use him, Shockwave, as a pawn, use him as a puppet. But that's the thing. He forgot who he was. He is Shockwave. And he's no one's pawn. He's no one's servant. He served Lord Megatron because it was the logical reason. And he listened and served under Leech Maximus because it was logical and he wanted to gain some knowledge. But now Liege Maximus's usage is no longer needed as he will take over as the new leader of the Decepticon cause and the new leader of the Quintessons. Seeing this, well, hearing this, sorry, Liege Maximus realizes, oh scrap, you've been using me for ever since. You used me as a pawn. I'm very impressed. You managed to manipulate the prime of lies, the prime of manipulation. You're in my respect, Shockwave. As Shockwave is like, well, it's time for the master to be, well, it is, like humans say, it's the student has become the master. As Shockwave and the rest of the Decepticons take triple and the rest of the Decepticons take Tripticon and proceed to leave. And they take some of Legion Maximus's quintessons. Shockwave manages to take one of the main quintessons, and he forces one of the main quintessons, the ones that have four faces and all. Yeah, he pretty much forces that one to come with him and take him straight towards their planets. And the rest he leaves behind. While Oxmus and the others are kind of confused what the hell's going on, but Oxmus realized, oh scrap, we got betrayed. Huh. Well, you should have seen that one coming. As Leech Maximus says, that's true. Well, Oximus, let this be the finest battle in history. Prime versus Prime. Oximus yeah, this is not gonna be the finest battle. Now I can freely go all out. Wait, what? You were still holding back? I always hold back. Haven't you haven't you seen me fight? And Leech Maximus realizes, oh, oh no. As Artemis proceeds to go to his full power and rushes in, and managing to actually kind of speed blitz Leech Maximus, because remember, he's in his 2.0 form, or technically 3.0. He doesn't just have a jetpack, he has rocket boosters on his feet, well, also on his thighs. And he pretty much rushes towards him, managing to actually speed blitz him, and he grabs Leech Maximus's face and slams him on the ground. Leech Maximus tries to push Oxmus off of him, but Prime does the same thing Broly did to Goku, drags him, but instead of on a wall, he drags him on the ground and proceeds to throw him straight towards a building. Leech Maximus manages to get out of the building, but Prime quickly rushes towards him and cuts off one of his arms. Leech Maximus was screaming pain, and he proceeds to throw his spear towards Oxmus, and it stabs Oxmus on his as he proceeds to stab Oxmus straight towards his chest where his spark chamber, where his spark is. But it doesn't go deep enough to pierce through him and kill him, but it does come close. Prime manages to rip it out of his chest, and Leech Maximus proceeds to try to run away. But Prime, pissed off, proceeds to throw the spear straight towards Leech Maximus, stabbing him from the back and making him fall. As Leech Maximus tries to get up, Oxmus proceeds to put his foot on his back. He tells Leech Maximus it's over, asking him to surrender. But Leech Maximus tells Oxmus that it's a bad idea letting him live. And then Prime does think about it. If he does let him live, it's just gonna be the same cycle. He does realize that his other siblings allowed him to live, and this is the consequences. Him just trying to kill Oxmus and trying to take the Matrix forcibly, and pretty much using Quintus Prime's creations to pretty much kill him, and a lot of other bad things, destroying Jasmine, Nevada, and trying to destroy Chicago. Yeah, he does realize it's not a good idea letting him live. Apologizing to his brother, saying that he really didn't want to kill him, and then Leech Maximus says, "You're just like yourself, Oxmus. You'll always be the same bot, no matter what happens. Even if you lose your memories or not, you're still the same kind-hearted fool." Oxmus says, "I'd rather be kind than a ruthless ruler like you," as he proceeds to slice his brother's head off. And the Autobots proceed to finish off the rest of the few quintessons, Shockticons, and the remaining Veocons and Insecticons. After that, Prime comes towards his Autobots. He tells them that it's over for now. And then Bumblebee asks, what about Shockwave and them? Optimus does think about it. He says that they will try to find them, but for now, they should go straight back to Cybertron. As when they were fighting, Jack, Miko, and Raphael actually managed to save a bunch of humans, and they helped a lot actually. For once, actually, I mean, Optimus didn't technically give them Iron Man type suits, so yeah. But anywho, Optimus would thank Jack and Miko and Raphael for helping them, and they say no problem. And Optimus does say they have to go back to Cybertron. As we just skipped to episode 13, where Optimus and the Autobots go back to Cybertron, where they see Iocon fully rebuilt thanks to a Megalock, and Optimus smiling. He then thanks Ironhide for keeping Cybertron safe and pretty much just trying to fix it up. And Ironhide says, no problem. Now, the Autobots pretty much come together as they start building Cybertron and start building a platform. And like in the how they did in Transformers um Pericon Rise in the movie, they still blow up Megatron's statue. Well, Will Jack and Bulkhead do that, and they start rebuilding Cybertron. And we will just go straight towards the movie because there's nothing much about episode 13. And in the movie, yes, Unicron will still manage to take over Megatron's body and go straight towards Cybertron. And Optimus will still go off to get the Allspark. But in this timeline, they get it, Optimus arrives much earlier. Does Unicron revive a bunch of Predacons? Yes, because he uses Megatron's memories to pretty much just like see what army he can use to take down the Autobots. I know that Unicron technically never did that, but at the end of the day, Unicron is a god in his own universe, so it kind of makes sense if he can read minds and actually see memories. It makes sense. I mean, he's in Megatron's subconscious. Kind of makes sense if he can do that, but whatever. And he still has the Predacon, well, the Terracon Predacon army. And the Autobots obviously trying to fight back. And this time, they do actually do well than they did in the original timeline. Optimus will still arrive, and using his time abilities will manage to actually destroy the army pretty easily. And him and Megatron, start fighting. Now, thing is, how would this fight go? I was thinking it should go like the same way it did in the original timeline, but then I realized Prime does have a time weapon. And then I realized it won't really go the same. So I would have to change how this I would have to actually change how it actually goes. You see, Optimus does realize that Unicron is just using a vessel. He's not in his full form. So Optimus wonders if he can trap Unicron in the body of Megatron, like how he's trapped on Earth. The same way, Optimus wonders if he can trap Unicron's soul in Megatron's body and make sure he doesn't revive himself. And thinking about it, Optimus decides to use his plan. Optimus will very much just fight Unicron for a bit, and then he pulls out the Vortex Blade. Now, Unicron technically rushes in, trying to like destroy or throw away the blade because he knows what he can do. But Prime manages to stop time in the nick of time, and he manages to pretty much stab Unicron Megatron through his spark. Well, technically through his chest because does he still have a spark? I'm not too sure, but let's just say yeah. He stabs him through his spark chamber. And Unicron says, huh, you really think that's enough to defeat me? And Optimus says, no, but this will, no, but this will. As Optimus proceeds to use his time abilities on Unicron, Unicron is confused and asks what the hell is Optimus doing? And Prime explains he's gonna trap Unicron's body, he's gonna trap Unicron's soul in Megatron's body. And he's gonna make sure he doesn't come back fully. Unicron is very surprised, realizing that he won't. He's technically he he'll be like in the same state he was when Optimus used the Matrix in a way, and that's exactly what Optimus does. He traps Unicron in Megatron's body. And with that, the Autobots manage to defeat Unicron. Now, Optimus does think about destroying Megatron's body, but at the same time, it will kind of free Unicron's soul. So he decides to preserve it as the Autobots put Megatron's body in a temple they built to make sure that he doesn't get free. And they have some Autobots who got it, like Grimlock, Ironhide, and Impacts, and many others. And Optimus uses the Allspark to pretty much, well, Optimus uses the Allspark to pretty much revive Cybertron or bring new life to a Cybertron. He does the same thing. Only difference is he doesn't go inside. He just throws the Allspark inside Primus' spark chamber, and this allows the well of Allsparks to open, and finally, a bunch of Cybertronians come out. Well, Cybertronian souls, and Cybertron starts to prosper. As Optimus would arrive back to the surface and tells everyone it's finally over, but they still have a problem. And everyone does look at Optimus and nods, as they know what he's talking about. Shockwave. He's still out there. And now he's gonna be the next threat they have to face. As Optimus does look up in the sky and asks one question: where is he going? As we would end as we would end the finale with Shockwave arriving towards planet Quintus, or the Quintesson's planet, and he would arrive in a lab and he sees what the Quintessons were trying to build or trying to make. And Shockwave, kind of surprised, says, huh, this is intriguing. As this is the end of the finale. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'm gonna for now I'm gonna be making a two special parts for Ironhide. This two special part would be mostly focusing on Ironhide and Shockwave's rivalry, you can say, as it will pick off from that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.